I want to speak about the stories of two women in the book. And you tell us, so firstly, you were struck by a lot of the testimony, but you speak specifically about the testimony of Cynthia Agnes Soraya Stimple. I didn't know that was the full name of Cynthia Stimple, but tell us what struck you and why it was so important.
I mean, she was incredibly brave in coming forward and set out like an absolutely incontrovertible record. I'm trying to remember precisely what cases that she was actually involved in now.
SAA.
It was SAA. And she was the one who really, I think for the commission, unpacked it in a very understandable, fundamental, utterly incontrovertible way. Now, I'm actually quite interested because I don't know about what's actually happened with her subsequent to appearing at the commission. Because I wonder, one of the things we've been talking about a lot is the extent to which witnesses who came forward at the commission have sort of been left on the lurch a bit. And the whistleblowers who've come forward have been left on the lurch because they haven't been protected and they've suffered serious consequences. So I'd actually be very interested to find out what's happened.
So Cynthia Stimple, as you all must know, was the whistleblower on SAA. And she was extraordinarily brave. I mean, Dudu Myeni and Yaki Kwinana bullied her so much, but she stood firm. She then started the Whistleblower House. So she's become she's one of the people who's behind that. And she's become a spokesperson for whistleblowers. She walked the Camino before she gave her evidence, I think, in order to build her resilience and strength. And that's what she's doing now. She's training whistleblowers. But as many of the whistleblowers' stories will show us, they just can't get work in corporate South Africa because they're regarded as potential troublemakers and a risk rather than an absolute asset, which is what I think they would be. So on to the next one. One of your chapters is, why was Dudu Myeni not stopped? I'm asking.
I mean, it seems like the obvious answer is that she clearly should have been. There was just a vast amount of evidence in the public domain about her wrongdoing. And the Zondo Commission, I think, hints at two things. One is the fact that there were enablers, the auditors in particular, who did almost nothing to stand in her way. I mean, I found that actually, of the parts of the Zondo Commission that I read, one of the more disturbing and the more compelling ones, which is the discussion of the auditing profession in relation to SAA. So I'm not sure how widely this was reported at the time, but what happened with the audit function in SAA was effectively privatized. They brought in one of the big four firms, and the audit SAA got clean audits for multiple years, and it turns out they weren't even asking for the underlying documents for tender procurement. It's just not doing any basic auditing. And then when the Auditor General's office nationally came in and looked at the audits, they were totally discarded because they're found to be utterly, completely useless. And the Auditor General's office had to redo them, and in so doing declared billions of rands of irregular expenditure. So that's the one thing, is I think that all of those mechanisms of accountability just absolutely failed at that point. There's also the reality that she was very close to Zuma and clearly wielded a vast amount of power within the presidency. I mean, I think one of the things I think I was slightly disappointed by is I don't think Zondo really goes for the jugular in explaining just precisely why she has so much power over Zuma. There's these sort of there's these little side references to the fact that she's part of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, but there's never really like a deep accounting of precisely what she did there.